Alpine massively improved their car for 2023. Last season, Alpine made a name for itself in Formula 1 when it put out a near-season-long push to improve its A522 car. Alpine is confident about its future in the championship because it came in 5th in 2021 and 4th in 2022. They have big goals for 2023 as it continues to move toward the front of the grid over the course of the 100-race plan. The A523 is a big change from its predecessor, the A522. The design and technical teams at its bases in Enston, UK and Viry-Châtillon, France worked together over the winter to make big changes to the A522. But what are those changes, you may ask? Well, let's find out. The nose and front wing of the 2023 car have been changed, and Alpine has decided to try out an idea that its competitors have given up on. Last season, both Aston Martin and AlphaTauri had nose tips that were raised, and while the first team kept working on its version until the end of the season, AlphaTauri gave up by the time of the Japanese Grand Prix. That's not to say that the raised tip solution is unworkable, as Alpine has clearly seen potential beyond its old layout, because the changes made to the new car require the front wing to be set a little higher in the midsection. Alpine blue and the bright pink of the team's title sponsor BWT are again used to make a striking design for the car's paint job. On the same night, the team also announced that for the first 3 Grand Prix races of the season in Bahrain, Saudi Arabia and Australia, it will have a full pink color scheme that is backwards. Renault Group CEO Luca De Meo and Alpine CEO Laurent Rossi were there to show the car to the world and reaffirm Alpine's goals and strategy for being in Formula 1, in line with the Renaulution framework. The team showed off its new 2023 driver lineup for the first time in team colors. Esteban Ocon, who has been with the team for 4 years, was joined by Pierre, who was announced as a BWT Alpine F1 team driver in October. The two grew up in Normandy and met when they were 9 years old, when they were both trying to become race car drivers. This makes their story emotional and interesting. Since then, both Esteban and Pierre have worked their way up to Formula 1. Each of them has won a major Grand Prix, and now they lead the only French Formula 1 team. Team principal Otmar Schaffnauer is starting his 2nd year in charge. He helped lead the team to an impressive 4th place in the 2022 Constructors' Championship. Technical director Matt Harmon joined Otmar and talked about the team's design philosophy for improving the A523. He also talked about how both the Enston site for the chassis and the Viry site for the power unit have worked together to improve the team's overall package. Esteban and Pierre have had a busy pre-season getting ready for the 23 races. On Monday, they drove the A523 for the first time at Silverstone during the team's official filming day. Before the first race of the season on March 5th in Sakhir, both drivers will take part in the upcoming Formula 1 pre-season test in Bahrain. As always, it comes down to how fast the team can start and how fast it can keep going. As technical director Matt Harmon explained, it's really important. Obviously, the shorter the nose, the more difficult it is to get it through the homologation process. But it's also important that we ensure that the way we connect the beam wing of the front wing to the nose gives us the maximum opportunity for development. Depending on what element you choose to connect to, it can limit your development on the front wing. So we've been quite aggressive there and given ourselves quite a lot of modularity. You'll probably see quite a bit of differences on our front wings as we transition through the year. Alpine was one of the teams that started the 2022 season with a downwashing ramp side pod solution, but as time went on, it changed into something that made it stand out from the rest. This shift first focused on bending the back corners of the side pods. This made it easier for air to flow from the top of the car down into the Coke bottle area at the back, but the team kept working on this idea, digging out the middle of the side pod to make more of a gully for the air to flow down as it goes up the ramped section toward the back of the car. This is clear in many of this year's competitors who are also trying to take advantage of the aerodynamic gains that are available. Before this, Alpine has kept the same style of inlet, but has made it a little bit smaller and taken off some of the square edges. It has also split the surface of the mirror stay fin into 3 parts, like the AlphaTauri and Mercedes did last season. In the last few years, Alpine has switched to a cooling method that is much more centered on the middle than some of its competitors. This made the design look like it had more weight on top. Some progress has been made in this area so that things will be more even by 2023. This will lead to weight savings, better cooling, and more radical aerodynamic bodywork. Harman added, "We've taken some of the cooling system that might normally be down the center line and we've reduced it. We've done that because we want to control some of this mass flow down to the rear of the car. Normally we would just take that amount of face area and we'd put it in the side pod, but actually the team has worked really aggressively at improving the efficiency of that system, so actually we've removed it from there, the car's center line, and not put it in there, the side pod. We've made this system smaller, and we've also managed to reduce the plenum temperature of the engine as well, which again was not only an aerodynamic benefit, but gives more crank power. The A522 already had the raised engine cover shelf that we've seen on other cars since then, whether they changed their design last season or this season. Alpine has taken advantage of the smaller cooling systems by optimizing the topology of the bodywork. This is part of its search for a solution with better aerodynamic performance. On the other hand, the rear cooling outlet on the A523 has been raised to make room for a new rear suspension design and to give more room for air to flow into the Coke bottle area. This has also made the downwash toward the back of the cooling outlet clearer, and the team has taken off the shark fin from the engine cover, exposing the louvered cooling opening on its spine. Changes have been made to the cooling packaging to make more room for aerodynamic improvements. This means not only changing how the cooling system is packed, but also making it smaller. This is one reason why the side pod and engine cover seem to be more compact as a whole. Alpine has changed the suspension at the back of the car from pull rods to push rods, which is said to have made it lighter compared to how it was in 2022. It also gives the car a lot more options for how to set it up and makes the flow of air over the back of the car better. The stacked biplane beam wing, which was first seen on the Red Bull and was introduced by Alpine at the Azerbaijan Grand Prix, is still there. This will be optimized based on the rear wing used at a particular race weekend. As was the case last season, a more traditional design is likely to be used at venues with a lot of downforce. Alpine needs to take a big step in 2023 if it wants to compete for F1 world titles. For a while, when Alonso left, he took with him a talent that was sure to win a world championship, and Ocon's consistency was still unclear. The addition of Gasly doesn't solve the problem exactly, but it does open up a lot of options. Gasly was announced as Alonso's replacement in a silly season to remember. He had been driving for AlphaTauri before, and he and Ocon made up a full French driver lineup. The two are known to have had a heated history. They were rivals in junior karting, and that rivalry carried over into their F1 careers. But when it was announced that they would be teammates at Alpine, both drivers said that the past was in the past, and that they would do their best to help the team move up the grid. Yes, it's a nice thought, but if sparks fly in Bahrain, could an old rivalry start up again? That is yet to be seen. Do you think Alpine has a good season ahead of them? What do you think about the new A523 car? Let us know in the comments below, and as always, like and subscribe, and see you in the next video.